everyone, and welcome to a fresh episode of Team Pumpkin Presents Human Behind the Marketer, created by Punctuate. Let's think of today's episode as a much needed coffee break on a busy Monday. Today we are going to try to brew some interesting conversations, have a latte labs, and hopefully spill a few beans. I don't think I can make the guest for today any more obvious. So I'm just going to invite Ravi Makwana, Chief Marketing Officer of Tim Hortons India.
Hi Saloni.
Hi Ravi, good. I'm so glad you could make it here today.
No, it's completely my pleasure. Thank you for coming to Tim Hortons.
Anytime, it has been on the cards, right? But before we start, I need to know a trade secret from you, which is your favorite Tim Hortons coffee.
Sure, that's easy. It's French vanilla with espresso.
Yeah.
That's my go-to drink, and you should, and everyone else should certainly try it.
So you are a IIM Lucknow alumni, right? And if two states has taught us anything, is that IIM can be a little hard, and it's obviously it should be probably. So how was that whole experience? How did the entire thing happen? How hard was it? And any tips for anyone who's trying to get in now?
Well, firstly, it was more than a decade back. I joined IIM Lucknow back in 2010. I started in 2012. But I think personally for me, I think the journey was, let's say, somewhere in between hard and easy. The reason I say is this because I've always been, academically driven. Always been in teacher's pet, so to speak, right? And always been in the top 3 of the classes. So academic is something that came naturally to me, and that was an general obvious progression that went on from after I completed my schooling. I went to do my BTech engineering in VJTI, and the environment there was pretty competitive. All my batchmates were either doing an IIM or a US MS course, right? So the choice for me to was to take between the two, and I chose to build my career in India and take up a management degree in IIM. So that's how I started preparing for it. It wasn't easy. It's a very competitive exam, and but once you put your mind to something, more often than not you achieve it. So that's my mantra, and that's how I went for it. I think again, I'm something good with numbers, something that comes very naturally to me, given my keen interest on maths and academics in general. And then to cover logical, they test you on logical deductions and on verbal language and many other things, and you prepare for it and you clear it. To be in all honesty, I cleared in my second attempt. So in my first attempt, I could not break through, but in my second, I did excellently well in my CAT exams.
But I think that actually gives us a lot of hope. Like to keep at it, because it can be really demotivating when these things don't work out.
It's how you take it, right? I'm guessing most of us would have seen 12th fail, right? That's a great example of when you are put down, how strongly you come back. So that's the thing. I tried harder in my second attempt. I could then clear my CAT with a great percentile, and then there is a round of GDs and PIs, and the way to go about it is just preparation. Thankfully, in the country today, there are enough and more coaching institutes to help you prepare for your for such competitive exams. And I just gave in my 100% for it, and I could crack it. So that was very fulfilling, so to speak. But once you are inside, it's a whole different game. Like you spoke about the analogy, right? But that's the curriculum, the whole environment around you is designed in a manner in which they prepare you for life. So it's not just the 2 years that you spend there, but it's not just the learning about finance or marketing or fundamentals of it. But I think what they really do is prepare you for the life, because when you are in the management business, every day the corporate throws a challenge at you, and you need to be prepared for that. So I think that is what IIM teaches, and all great institutes in the country teaches the students there, and that sets the platform for you to then rise up from there. So I feel I've been very lucky to crack that. And if there is one advice that I can give to the aspirants, I think you just have to keep your head down and work on it, and to just prepare. Because once you clear it, and once you are yourself out there in the interviews that the professors are taking, then you cut through the rest, right? So that's the honest advice.
Any story that stands out in your mind from your IIM days? Any experience?
So there was the 4th semester in my second year in IIM Lucknow, where there was a lot going on. So generally what happens in IIM is that after So year one is pretty hectic,
Yeah.
and then you do your summer internship, and then when you come back for the second year, that is when the fourth semester starts, things are a little bit lighter
Okay.
because you've done your summers and you've sailed through the first year, the codes, how to crack them. But it sort of played other way around for me because I was part of a large committee called Index back there in campus, and sort of workload came in for that, and I was one of the rare few in the batch who had taken all tough courses of finance and all tough courses of marketing, and it just so happened that all of those tough courses came together in the fourth sem. So it was really hard for me to sort of focus both on the academics part as well as manage a certain committee work that I was doing. And there came a scenario where there was an exam going on, and I was very underprepared for a finance exam. I realized by that time that I might be more cut out for marketing, but I had a keen interest on finance. So my friends used to say, "Oh, you have taken all the tough subjects, and what makes you do that?" And say, "Yeah, I just want to learn." So I went to my sidey there, and in the hostel you have your best friends are your sideys, right? And he was a finance wizard.
Okay.
So I told him, "Dude, you have got like 4 hours. You have to teach me the fundamentals. You need to teach me how to crack this exam tomorrow." And he was kind enough. He helped me out on that, and I gave that exam. And when the result came out, in a pointer scale of 10, you need to get minimum 4, and I got a 4.1 in that in that subject. So I just sailed through that. I excelled in other marketing courses, but that was pretty tough for me. I thought, I think this is the first time in my life I might not clear an exam, but thankfully it didn't happen. I think that's what again IIM teaches you, that there is a great camaraderie. People just come along. Everybody's sort of helping out each other, both academically, non-academically. There is a lot of emotional support as well.
Yeah.
So I think that worked great for me.
And like 4.1 in 4 hours is a very good number, I would say.
Not if you talk to my professor, right? He said, "Oh, you just cleared."
Oh, looking back, is there anything that you would do differently?
Well, not really. I think I'm very grateful for my past and where I've reached so far. Of course, sky is the limit ahead. And I said earlier, right? I think I got a great support both from the families and friends, and from my colleagues and teachers. When I started working professionally, great from my supervisors and from my from my peers. Right? I started my journey in Asian Paints, and then I moved to Tata. And these are both great organizations to work with, and again they really set you up for a corporate life. And I think I had a great camaraderie, everywhere that I worked on, and that sort of added a lot to my learning, to the values that I behold. I would not want to change a thing about where I am. Could I have done much better? Well, possibly, but I'm happy where I am right now. Yeah, certainly.
So how did Asian Paints happen, if I may?
Well, it happened through campus placement.
Okay.
Right. So it was my first job, and again going back to the campus, there is a brief period of 3 to 4 days where the entire batch gets placed.
Okay.
And the environment is very stressful because you have to run from one interview to another group discussion to another personal interview, and it's happening so fast you really don't get a lot of time to think. I had a good round of interviews that I had done on that day, and Asian Paints was my last interview where I still clearly remember that interview happened at about 1 o'clock in the night.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, so I finished my day, and the results generally come late in the night.
Okay.
So I didn't know that I didn't know actually that there's one more interview left of Asian Paints, and my name in the shortlist came a little later. And I was back in my hostel room back then, and again a friend came knocking that Ravi, you have an Asian Paints interview. And there's one person who is making me wear a tie, one person is sort of creasing the suit, and there's a bit of a way from where the hostel is to where the interview is to happen in in the institution buildings. So there was another friend ready with a bike there, and I just hopped in and he took me to the interview. And there was this team there, the PlaceCom team that managed the whole process, and they said, "Yeah, Ravi, you need to you're the second last person to get interviewed. You have to really get in and do your best." And I just went in there. There was a great gentleman there who was a general manager back there in Asian Paints, and I started the interaction, and I think it went great. He asked me a lot on my projects that I've done, on a brief stint that I had before my MBA, and in general he just wanted to know about me as a person. And I think authenticity and honesty always prevails, right? So that's who I was when I was presenting myself to him. And yeah, he liked what I said, and they gave me an offer then. So yeah, that's how Asian Paints happened, and then I continued my journey for I think close to about 6 years in Asian Paints.
Advertising and marketing as an industry can be periodically a bit demanding. There can be campaign cycles and there can be launches and everything. And in the I think post-COVID, one thing that we all realized was that burnout is real, right? And we experienced it in different capacities and everything. So I think how, as a marketer, what is your stance on burnout and how do you deal with it if it happens?
I think it's often spoke about a certain work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
For you to effectively juggle between your work and life. But I think my philosophy is, a bit of a change in definition there, which is a work-life harmony. I think more and more, we are bringing our office work to home,
Yeah.
and equally, if not more, we are also sort of taking home back to where we are working, right?
Yeah.
Through a constant presence on phone or whichever ways, right? So I think from an overall work environment perspective, I think both organizations as well as employees need to find a certain work-life harmony, and that work needs to be done in both ways. I think organizations can relook at the way the traditional setup has been done so far, because the generation that's coming into the corporate life now is very different and holds very different values than what you and I hold, and then what our parents held, right? So in the changing environment, it's not just that one set has to change. I think it's both the organizations as well as the employees sort of finding that perfect harmony to sort of work in an environment that sort of generates a value that is driven through meritocracy, or that's in general very positive environment to work for. And I think if I speak for marketing in general, the day starts very differently and would end very differently, right? You are planning a campaign one day and you are doing some tactical offers elsewhere, and you are running a PR narrative, and you are getting your hands deep inside a consumer insight report that would have just come in. So it's pretty fast evolving space, right? And what I spoke about is just a traditional marketing. I think with the new age marketing coming in, there is a whole lot of things that is going on in the function itself. So I think it's very important to sort of give your 100% in when what you're doing, and also equally to have a sort of a downtime. I think the more and more employees as well as employers try to sort of figure out a way that how to have a perfect work-life harmony, and rather to have a mindset where you think about work effectiveness rather than putting long hours. I think that would really set the organization or the function up for success. So that's what my mantra is as well. I have a great team working for me, and I have a great superiors, I have great colleagues, and we are generally viewing our work in terms of what is the effectiveness rather than what is the long hours that we are putting, or how effectively we are managing the work, rather than the simple time duration of it. So that's how what I would define. It's a very evolving field, and you have to stay abridged, you have to stay at top of everything. You need to sort of juggle your time effectively between working with a hyper focus situation when you're working on, and to equally have a downtime when when you are just rejuvenating and recharging back.
So if I were to ask, what is that one personal red flag for you where okay, if I'm feeling this or I'm experiencing this, then this is my time that I need to step back and take some downtime?
Well, I mean, you feel fatigue, right? You do feel, and thankfully, more and more people are talking about the mental stress now. It was not a narrative, few years back, or at least a decade back. But I think more and more people are sort of now realizing that they are into a mental stress of a mode and need to just step back. So that's the same red flag for me. One does feel a fatigue, one does feel overwhelmed that okay, this is too much. I need to just quickly take a step back and recharge. And it's pretty simple, right? It's as simple as going down for a walk. Even when you're working, let's say just simply go out for a walk and you feel fresh, right? Or you take the weekend off, or you take a whole week off in some cases to sort of come back more recharged. So that's my personal red flag. I'm very much into fitness and all, and I do understand when I'm burning out myself, or I'm at the cusp of sort of delivering 100%.
So I think to sort of cap this conversation, this segment with strongly, 3 marketing jargons that you really think need to be just we need to do away with them, and 3 probably that we need to add, or maybe need to occupy a larger part of our conversation.
Okay, sure. Well, it's a tough question. But let me answer the second part first, right? I
Yeah.
think three jargons, or I may not call it jargon because I fully believe in them. I think first is the purpose-led brand, right? We have been hearing this narrative around a purpose-led
Yeah.
brand, and building a brand purpose which
Yeah.
is larger than the brand itself or the category. And I think it's very true.
Yeah.
And very few marketeer really understands that. So I think that's something that the marketing community needs to sort of keep pushing.
Yeah.
Be at it. And maybe I would say we need to go maybe one step ahead rather than just saying a purpose-led brand. I think it's about purpose-led interaction or engagement with consumers. I think that's the next phase in which all brands need to think, and that's how all the large brands have been made. So that's something that I truly try to practice. It's always at the back of my mind when I'm making a decision. So that's one thing that I truly believe in. I think second gospel on marketing is that and again we hear this buzzword now and again, right, which is consumer centricity, but that's very real. All great brands, great businesses have started with customers and sort of worked their things backwards. And more often, day-to-day environment, we are pushed in a corner where we need to sort of either think business first or we need to think brand first, and it generally doesn't work. So I think more and more, again, the community sort of works on working backwards from your customers and keeping the customer at the center of your decision. I think that's a great thing. I keep telling my my team that I'm not your boss, and my CEO is not my boss. Everyone's boss is the customer. And once you sort of think with that philosophy, then you will take decisions that are right for your customers and consumers more often rather than sort of not. So I think that's the second thing that I live by. And I think the third thing is a bit technical, but I think coming from a bit of an FMCG background, I think reach and distribution is a key thing. So again, as a marketeer, we tend to get gravitated towards a more brand building approach where we are thinking that this communication is great, and it will do great for the brand, and it's highly emotive, and it will generate a lot of brand love, and it does that. But the fact of the matter is, if your product is not on the shelf, no matter how great a communication or campaign you roll out, there's not going to be a business benefit, right? So I think again, for as a marketer, I think more and more of us, we need to sort of think both as much as about the physical availability as we think about the mental availability.
True.
And I think when both of this equation come together, that's when the real magic happens. So that's my three principles for brand jargon, so to speak. Well, three that are not. There are plenty, to be honest, but I think. I think one of it is really we as a marketer, we sort of tend to think more on the front of a sort of a brand love, brand key equation, right? I think brand love is great, but what the young brand managers and the marketing heads need to ask, that there is a science to this brand love. If you say something is something that I'm in love with, your brain is actually sort of releasing a serotonin or a happy hormone or a love hormone, right? And that's the emotion that creative needs to evoke. Otherwise, it would fit into the category of brand love. And I've seen more and more examples that we say that, oh, but this is great for brand love, but it really doesn't do anything for the brand, because really there is no there is no emotive connect happening. There is no that feel good release of a dopamine or a serotonin in your head happening that sort of links that creative to your brand. And I think that's the definition of brand love that we as a community need to sort of understand a lot deeper than what we're actually doing right now. I think second thing is it's and we again use this word buzzwords again, which are the definitions of a TG, which are typecasted as a Gen Z and millennials, right? And that's a big buzzword these days, because everybody's trying to figure out what Gen Z traits are and trying to sell to the same audience of Gen Z millennials. And we often use it very, very loosely. That my TGs is millennials, and they have this disposable income and they have these traits. But I think we need to come out of that definition and get a little bit more detailed, because even millennial is a large cohort now, and there will be like sub cohorts within this audience to sort of say, oh, is it a millennial with a higher disposable income? Is it a millennial with a certain different economic background? Is it a millennial that behaves differently than what the general perception about this this demographic is.
Yeah.
So I think that thing is something, we use it very loosely, but we need to have a sort of sharper definition to that.
Yeah. So actually, I remember, I think it was Ashish Chopra, Exego, I'm not sure, but in one of his talks, he said that being a millennial or a Gen Z is a state of mind. So
Absolutely,
actually,
yeah.
that kind of resonated with me because I think technically I'm a millennial, but I spend like a boomer.
You know what I add to that? That is another thing that viral karna hai. Viral
Oh my
karna
god,
hai,
yes.
Things don't get viral.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't create something that will, things happen viral by themselves.
I still remember, and this was like, back when social media was a bit new. It was around 2013-14. I used to work with Exchange for Media, I think. And Gangnam Style had, I think, just gone viral. So, naya wo utha, right? And a PR agency had called me and told me, हमने ना एक viral campaign release किया है. It's like कैसे? मुझे भी बताओ.
Exactly, right? You can't release a viral campaign. I mean, and you'll never know what will go viral, man.
Yeah, it's pretty unpredictable, the whole psychology. So our next segment is marketing. I was around 8 or 9 years old, and my mama, like my mother's brother, was getting married, and we were going घर पे न्योता देने, like we do in our culture, right? And the richer the relative, the more gaada and strong coffee we would get.
You'll get,
Yeah. So like, and this is what I think late 90s I'm talking about.
Yeah,
it was like a very premium drink. So जितना मामी मासी जितनी rich है उतना आपको अच्छा coffee मिलेगा. So now where we have coffee chains and we have coffee experiences that you can create at home. There are artisanal roasts and there are teenagers and 10-year-olds who have preferences in coffee, right?
Absolutely.
So a huge evolution has happened. So my question is that A, what do you think led to this evolution in India, especially in the last couple of years?
Sure.
And B, how has it been for Tim Hortons to enter a market that is now so evolved and consequently also so cluttered now? Not cluttered, but competitive actually.
Yeah, so firstly, you're absolutely right on your first part of question. There is a huge evolution of coffee that has happened. I mean, we are a tea drinking nation by large, right?
Yeah.
And there was a certain region that was known for coffee and where coffee was a dominant beverage over tea. But I think that equation is sort of now fast changing.
Yeah.
So you're right, and I think the credit goes to a lot. So it's not one factor; it's like multiple factors that have come together, and the credit goes to firstly, the players and the industries who were there in the past, who have really brought out this coffee narrative. Identifying different roast and beans and different brews, and how can you get your perfect latte, and how each latte cup can be different for a different person. So you can customize your drink. So I think there is a lot of narrative, a lot of knowledge session or knowledge sharing that has happened by the incumbent players, and that is where the whole knowledge about coffee is sort of now coming in. And it has gone so much so that now it's not just cafes, but there are D2C brands who are serving a great specialty coffee right at your home, right?
Yeah.
So I think the credit goes to the industry and the consumers by and large. And consumers also sort of taking a keen interest on identifying a great cup of coffee, or an average cup, or identifying the beans and roast and flavors that suits their profile. So this, and of course the influence around travel and the stories that people pick from whenever they travel and they come back and they want to have that same experience here. I think that has also led to a lot of factor of coffee narrative being so strengthened now. So that's one reason. And India has a great coffee. I mean, we have Chikmagalur region makes one of the finest coffee, and it's getting its due. I think industry, consumers, these are the two big factors that have sort of led to strong coffee narrative in India. And I think if I compare the whole coffee landscape to, let's say, a bit international markets which are a little bit more saturated than where we are, I think we are far off from there. I think the coffee revolution, so to speak, is sort of just getting started. We are at the cusp of that S curve, where if I compare it to some of the developed countries where how much per capita coffee consumption happens, or how large a competitive landscape is there in those part of the world compared to India, I think we are still just getting started. So in many ways it's still day one for us. So that's how kind of sort of leads to your second question, that how Tim Hortons is sort of planning in a competitive market like India. I think we are sort of like I said earlier, we are keeping consumer at the center of all our decisions, right? And more and more customers are saying that there is a need for still a great, better coffee and a great food to go with that. And I think that's the offering that Tim Hortons is sort of, that's a need gap that Tim Hortons is filling.
India as a country is also very culturally diverse, which is actually a very big boon, but sometimes it can also be a bit challenging, right? So, as a brand that is internationally known and now coming to India, how are you guys navigating that, right? Because so you guys started off with Punjab and those markets, and now then we saw slightly bigger metros coming in, and I think the markets are significantly different, like in all these spaces. So how are you guys navigating through that?
No, you're very true. I mean, India is very diverse, and that's what makes us special. And the way we sort of go about building the brand narrative is not to take a cookie cutter approach, right? So every region is different, and within regions, every 100 kilometers, the behaviors will change, right? So it's pretty tough to crack a national code here.
Yeah.
But I think the way again we sort of try to balance this is the overarching narrative on Tim Hortons as an international brand appeal stays constant, no matter which region we go. Because that's the driver for consumers to sort of come and try us out in the first place. But as and when we go to a certain geography, we do tailor our offerings, we do tailor our communications, we do tailor the whole design of the store itself as well. So let me give an example, right? When we started in North and we started in Delhi first, we launched in Delhi and Gurgaon. And we, like I said earlier, we had the core menu which was constant, but we had a lot of local nuances to our menu as well. So there was a chole kulcha melt back then, which was kind of a melt, done, but made with chole and kulcha, right? And we had a makhni ravioli pasta, which was great because, North Indians love makhni or butter chicken in general. And there is this ravioli within which there is a chicken tikka and mushroom tikka on it, and people just loved it. Not to say that was the best selling, right? Of course, because there is this international offering that people come to, but they come and they say, oh, these guys are not alien. I feel familiar with them. If you look at our store design, right? Here in Bombay, we have a Pathni art in one of our murals. Or if you go to Pune or Bangalore, known for its electronic city vibes, we have sort of a bit of elements there that sort of give that vibes and brings that familiarity in. In North, if you go in Punjab, we have a whole logo done in a Fulkari pattern in one of our stores, in many of our stores actually. So that's the balance we sort of try to strike out. It's not one code that will fit all. You have to understand the flavor, the profile, the behavior in the segment or in the region that you're going to. And then, you have to sort of try and balance it out with keeping your overall brand, positioning intact, but still giving that familiarity to the consumers. So that's our approach I've been, and it's working great for us so far.
That's nice. So, and that actually helps us a lot. I think I want to cap this segment with one question, which is actually not on yours, but given your interest in finance and how marketing works, right? It is a balance of creativity, a bit of out of the box thinking, and obviously numbers. So where are you on the debate of madmen versus mathmen?
Well, it's a tough one because there are strong arguments on both sides, right? But again, like all things in life, I think a balanced approach is what's needed. And let me give an example, right? I often see marketeers and even our creative partners who go into a very far extreme that this piece of communication will break barriers, will do great work for the brand, will have high shareability, it will have memorability, and that's what's needed because in such a cluttered environment, you need your brand to stick out in a manner in which you want. But at the same time, if you don't have an eye on the numbers, right? If you don't have an eye on the bottom line, right? And it's a great book. You will create a great brand, but where's the business? So I think more and more marketeers and I see that in practice now are sort of having that balance between a madman and a mathman, and I think that's the way to go about it because like I said, you have to sort of get your brand narrative out there in a manner in which it's befitting and it's clutter breaking and it has a high memorability quotient to it. But at the same time, if that communication is not going to sell your product, it's not going to sell your service, then what's it for? Right, and that is where the math comes in. That how many consumers are actually going to try with this? How much needle I'm going to move on trials? How much needle I'm going to move on sales? And bottom line in general. So that's a math or that's a model that we need to sort of keep in mind. I think as a marketeer, we need to sort of work extra hard to get to that balance because we get gravitated towards creating a great communication and great narrative, and we all get very excited that, oh, this is a great stuff, it will win us great awards. But what it's doing for the brand and business, really, that's one one thing, one filter that we need to keep in mind always.
So this segment is called Who is Ravi Makwana? We're trying to give our audience like a little bit of sneak peek into the human and the marketer, coexisting, and we have like a list of questions, very candid, first thing that comes to your mind.
Sure.
We go about it, right? Who is Ravi Makwana when he's not working?
Either I'm running, or I'm in the gym, or I'm with my Kindle.
Okay.
So that's three things. And if not all three of it, then I'm traveling somewhere.
Oh, that's nice. So what are you reading right now?
Well, you know what? I have this habit of reading 4-5 books at a time. So
Okay.
I don't finish a book and then move to the next. I start with 4-5 and then finish and move to the lot. So so the books that I'm reading right now, I think the first one is called Ego is the Enemy.
Oh.
And it's really about how ego comes in the way and not really the external circumstances. I think the great book that I'm reading right now is by this author called Martin Lindstrom. It's called Ministry of Common Sense, and it's a great book about how bureaucratic and red tape things in an organization precedes a simple common sense. And it's a great fun read, and it's so obvious that you see that, oh yeah, this is what I experienced, but it's not common sense. So that's a great learning. The third book that I'm it's on the fiction side. It's on by Paulo Coelho, Hippie, which is a light read sort of to get some life principles getting sorted. And the fourth one actually I'm reading is on marketing. It's called How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp. That's my go-to book. I read it again and again, and every time I sort of always learn something new. So these are the four things that I'm reading right now.
One movie or show that you're streaming right now?
Well, I'm watching Tehran on Apple TV, and that's great series. And I'm also watching Captains of the World on Netflix, and that's World Cup done dramatically, so that's pretty exciting.
Okay. One meme that you identify with?
There's this couple of memes that I keep using, and it's kind of a WhatsApp meme. You must be familiar, right? There's this guy standing with his hands crossed in a very dejected face, who is a Pakistani fan, sorry, and the match would have lost between Australia and Pakistan. And that's my go-to meme, because sometimes I would say something wrong, I just post that meme, and they kind of don't know where my head is, right? So that's one thing that I keep using a lot. But I don't participate a lot in on the meme bus, but I do enjoy the usual, what do you call, the looking wow and fabulous, and those memes, and even moe memes, right? It's a crazy world out there.
Your absolutely favorite food from where and why?
Well, Tim Hortons and mushroom cheese melt. You should try that out.
Okay.
That's my favorite. And outside Tim Hortons, biryani. I just can't stop eating biryani. And I don't know reason out why, right? Everybody loves biryani.
It's all of us. Okay. So where are we likely to find you when you're taking some downtime?
Either on the beach or with my 2 cats and my 6-year-old.
Okay.
So that's ultimate stress buster for me.
And my last question, who would Ravi Makwana be if he were not a marketer?
That's easy. I would be a stand-up comic. I love cracking jokes. I never officially practiced it, but if not marketing, I would have been that.
So I think that's a wrap, Ravi. Thank you so much for being on Human Behind the Marketer. It's actually been a pleasure in knowing you and beyond your designation, and I hope you had a lot of fun.
No, thank you, Salani, for this time, and it was absolutely my pleasure. I enjoyed it very much, and thanks again for having me.
So guys, that's a wrap, and I hope you had a lot of fun on Team Pumpkin presents Human Behind the Marketer, created by Punctuate.